It is 10:01. Good morning from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. The Chiefs stopped a Raiders two-point attempt and did not relinquish the lead for a 30-29 AFC West win at home on Monday Night Football to improve to 4-1. Travis Kelce with 4 touchdown catches as the Raiders drop to 1-4. Titans are into the off week at 3-2 and at the top of the AFC South. Mike Vrabel spoke to the media for the final time this week about heading into an early bye.
Best to our advantage to try to get guys back healthy, give some guys some rest that have played a lot of football for us, and see if find ways to improve.
For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once in your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
All right, here we go on a Tuesday. Welcome into 104.5 The Zone. We're happy to have you here until 1 o'clock. Jump in if you like. What's going on with the phones? They've been ringing out since I walked in here, trying to listen to Ramon and Slay and Kayla cut a promo that took entirely too long for this Tennessee tailgate show, whatever the hell they're doing in Knoxville this weekend.
Yeah, people trying to win tickets that have already been given away.
I
don't
see.
have the heart to tell them.
Oh, so no, that's not what's happening there. You're lazy. Is what's happening there. You're just gonna let them call into the ether, trying to get these damn Tennessee Alabama tickets. Well, here, let me see if I can't assuage some of your angst. We also have Tennessee Alabama tickets to give away, but I don't do caller 5. You got to work for these things. We'll tell you what's going on with the winners and losers of the sports weekend and how you can win the Tennessee Alabama tickets that we have to give away during our block of programming.
Not now.
Not now.
Not now.
Step away from the dial pad. But unless you want to talk about something else, 615-737-1045. That's something else being that Monday Night Football game between the Raiders and the Chiefs. I saw you, Lucas, good morning, taking victory laps on the internet against all of the numbers nerds who said, whomever said into Josh McDaniels' ear last night, hey, buddy, go for 2. Do it. It'll feel good. You'll beat the Chiefs. You're on the road. Do it. Go for 2. Bleep a tie. Do it. And you know what he did? He did it, and they lost. And the amount of discussion that immediately broke out on the internet in a spot where, it's so easy to play the results, and it's worse because they're 1-4, and Devontae Adams is slamming helmets and pushing cameramen and freaking out because all of the things that the Raiders are doing, they're done. They're banged. They're out of it. 1-4. And a divisional loss like that against the Chiefs, when you have the opportunity to at least kind of level the playing field and keep them at 3-2, it's a really difficult decision, especially when you consider what it meant after the fact. Because I felt the Chiefs played more conservative after they didn't make the 2-point, after Las Vegas didn't make the 2-point conversion. And who's to say what would happen if Vegas would have made the 2-point conversion? But it's fair to expect a more aggressive version of Patrick Mahomes would have come out swinging on the other side. And certainly in the second half, they had zero answers defensively for him. So I think that kind of thing that continues to bubble up under the surface, what you compared McDaniels to Staley last night. Even though I thought, that decision's a total coin flip. I think you're being completely unfair. Josh McDaniels is not a likable character in any of this, not just because of, his first term as an NFL head coach with the Broncos, where allegedly he was a bit of a dictator. He spurned the Colts in their they passed over Mike Vrabel to hire Josh McDaniel. Josh McDaniel said, I don't know about this Andrew Luck guy. I'll take the job. Not so fast, my friends. Then ducks out of town, and they end up with Frank Reich. You compared him to Brandon Staley.
you're just looking for reasons to savage Brandon Staley. It's got nothing to do with Josh McDaniels.
I didn't compare anyone to Brandon Staley.
Yes, you did.
No, I didn't.
You did. I saw the handshake emoji tweet.
Brandon Staley approved that decision by Josh McDaniels.
Okay.
That's all I meant by that.
You mean that was angel devil, analytics devil on the shoulder, football devil on the shoulder.
So while the Raiders are lining up to go for 2 against that Chiefs front and everybody's screaming at their TV, no, what are you doing? You're 1-3. Just tie the game up. Just stay in the game. Brandon Staley was leaning back on his couch, stroking his chin, saying, yes.
Like Dr. Evil with the pinky next to his mouth. Oh, goodness. I mean, it is, it's the kind of thing that we talk about with Vrabel, right? I mean, record in one-score games. We'll get into this more in just a little bit. And Trevor Sikkema is going to be here today. Mike Felder of Stadium. We got a lot of big college football games to talk about, particularly from an X's and O's standpoint. How the Vols can actually take it to Alabama will be at noon today in this Titans trade that many of you were lobbying for, as floated by Dan Orlovsky on national television yesterday. The Monday Night Football game, the result of that, it is something that there seems to be, we can't find a medium on, a happy medium. Like, do you have to be the numbers guy all the time? Do you have to do what the analytics say all the time? Even to your detriment, even when you are, as Lucas mentioned, 1-3, and it's just about staying in the game at that point. Can you not remove yourself from the decisions that are being suggested, that nobody is dictating that Josh McDaniels go for it in that spot? It is a suggestion. It is based on the data that we have available. Your percentage to win benefits by going for 2 in this spot. Now, whether you get it or not, obviously, is the thing that makes him the donkey today. And maybe he is. I don't know. But I think if you asked the data people, they're just like, hey, we basically told him it's a coin flip. At that point, it's up to the coach. And so it should be the burden and the onus, especially given what he was hired to do, given what his area of expertise is. On the offensive side of the football, he's got to be the GOAT, but the bad way today. So I think a lot of people are taking this as an opportunity for a victory lap over numbers in football, which is just stupid. Why? For what? You don't want things that will help you make informed decisions about the results that may be at hand? It's not gospel. Why? Nobody's treating it that way, which is the thing that drives me crazy, because you can't, it's like politics. Nobody refuses to see the in-between, and you just got to go to one side or the other, because bleep the other side. They don't know what the hell they're talking about. It's honestly one of the most irritating things, not just in sports, but societally.
But I think some do treat it that way, as gospel. I think that's where people have frustration.
No, Josh McDaniels did.
He did. And Brandon Staley does, right?
Oh,
like to
the extreme. He's like the cult leader.
Mm-hmm. It's the extreme that you can't go too far in one direction. That's the thing that frustrates me as someone that has no rooting interest whatsoever in the Los Angeles Chargers.
You were rooting actively
against
that as soon as he went for 2. Don't lie to me. You're one of them. You're hiding among us.
No, it's no skin off my back if the Raiders get that 2-point conversion and win in Kansas City. I don't care. Makes the division more interesting.
I mean, the division has not been all that interesting.
No.
To be honest with you. Between the Raiders and the Broncos, the way that they've disappointed, and we did spend a tremendous amount of time, rightfully so, talking about the arms race in the AFC, and the AFC West is the best division in football. I still believe that to be so. Derek Carr damn near got them with one of the most beautiful deep balls I have seen thrown in the NFL this year to potentially tie the game, at least put 6 on the board with the opportunity to either kick the extra point or, as they ended up doing, go for 2. It's a shame that they're already out of the mix, and it is, I guess, by nature of playing in what was constructed as the toughest division in football this year. But there's all kinds of different elements of this game to talk about. We'll get to the roughing the passer stuff later, because there is a place for that, not just from last night's game, but obviously the Tom Brady, Grady Jarrett situation over the weekend, and now it's actually forcing the NFL's hand to do something about it because they can't continue to have the results impacted this way by nonsense. It's like targeting in college football. These roughing the passer penalties are a joke, and it's only going to get worse.
It's not like targeting. You can review targeting.
Well,
there's a lot more that can go into getting that right, getting a critical call right. That is not the case for roughing the passer.
Is that not the equivalent? And you're correct, which is now what the NFL is discussing, according to a lot of these NFL insiders, either doing away with it, or as Troy Aikman said last night in the booth, making it reviewable. Chris Jones was the victim of it last night. Let's hear from the Chiefs defensive tackle.
I think roughing the passers, they don't put such an emphasis on that we got to be able to view it in the booth now. You know what I mean? I think that's the next step as an NFL as a whole. If we're going to continue to call roughing the passers at that high of a velocity, then we got to be able to view it in the booth to make sure, because sometimes the looks can be deceiving. You know what I mean? From the ref point of view, he probably looked like that initially. But, you know, and when you look at the replay, it's a whole different thing. So I think now to evolve roughing the passer and protecting the quarterback is essentially what we're doing in this league. We got to be able to look at roughing the passers in the booth. You take a look at the Grady Jarrett situation.
I was going to ask you about that. Did you see that one from yesterday?
Of course. It's all over Twitter. And what type of situation that was in the game. That was a third down stop also. And then when you take that in initiative, if we're able to view it in the booth and the referees can get a second look because it's happening so fast, maybe we can change that, because now it's getting absurd. You know what I'm saying? Now it's causing teams games.
He's 1,000% right. And frankly, far more diplomatic than I think many of us would have been about it. Because he's saying, yeah, I mean, from the ref's point of view, how are they able to discern in real time whether I landed with half my body weight or my full body weight on top of the quarterback? It's so fast.
Now, I wonder what that conversation from him would have been like had they lost, what the tenor would have been, right?
Carl Cheffers, I believe, is the referee's name. His voice would have cracked even more than it did last night when he was clearly terrified of what the Chiefs fans might do to him.
Well, you think when he reviewed that Devontae Adams, which was a good call to call it an incomplete catch,
yes,
or incomplete pass, I should say,
which also is a rule that I hate because that was pretty spectacular.
Yeah, but he juggled and it was incomplete.
That's fair.
But how
That's
relieved
fair.
do you think Jeffers was when he said, "Oh God, thank God, okay, call on the field, it's incomplete."
Either way, he's getting a police escort off that playing surface. 615-737-1045. Is it Swab or Swamp Zombie? Either way.
Swab Zombie. And I wasn't going to go off on you, Buck, until you messed it up. No, man. I had a couple of things. One was, you kind of hear like conspiracy theories, like the agenda or how the NFL wants to, dictate a game. And that was on like the 4th and 13, holding on a field goal.
Oh my God. So bad.
Yeah. That cost me my fantasy game too. So I'm kind of mad about that. But,
so wait, you're not just alleging conspiracy in the NFL to impact the results. You're alleging conspiracy against your fantasy football team.
Oh, 100%. 110. The big issue was y'all are talking about the Raiders going for 2, which was, pretty dumb. But what about the Chiefs going for 2? What did they have to gain for going for 2 on that previous possession? Because an extra point makes it an 8-point game, which means when the Raiders score, they would have had to go for 2. So I don't know what they were thinking on that. That might even be, more idiotic, more moronic than the Raiders going for the 2.
Spot on. Honestly,
yeah.
It was a brain fart on both sides. Like I look, and nobody complains about it the next day. This is the difference, right?
But that is different though. But I agree with him. But if you don't get it, the worst case scenario that you don't get it is you're up by a touchdown.
Yeah.
Whereas the worst case scenario, if the Raiders do not get that, is you probably lose the game.
The margin for error is different. Yes, these are not similar situations, but it is an equally kind of like, okay, I mean, for what? At that point, like, you're making life harder than it needs to be. And obviously, they didn't get the 2-point conversion there either. But the thing that I want to talk about, a statistic last night from our buddy Jason Fitz, who's just a tortured Raiders fan at this point, about their record as a franchise in one-score games. And the thing that came into my head immediately was like, oh, my God, again with the Titans. I'm going to tell you what I mean coming up next.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Love a little ABBA on a Tuesday. Welcome back.
I heard this pouring out of the Titans radio studio this morning with Rhett Bryan in there getting some work done.
Why wouldn't you? Turn it up. It's a jam. I swear. We should just play a whole album today. You know?
Just an ABBA Tuesday?
This is my weekend. This is my Friday.
This is your Friday. I'm okay with that. We can just go ABBA wall to wall.
Nothing will. You want to? We had a couple calls yesterday about me being too grumpy about the way that the Titans win.
That'll cheer you up.
You know how to fix that? Play me ABBA on a Monday. It immediately changes my mood. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. People are screaming at me in the YouTube chat. Change the title of this stream. Don't be negative.
People are not happy about it.
We want DJ Moore or John Robinson can go. That's from Thundering Ice 22 on Xbox, apparently.
What?
That's what it says. Thundering Ice 22 Xbox. That's what it says on the Zone TV chat and YouTube. I assume it's a person on an Xbox.
Gotcha.
What you thought people were logging into, you thought we were streaming somewhere else you didn't know about?
Yeah. I don't know.
I didn't realize it would bother you that deeply. Anyway, go get DJ now, J-Rob, says Eric Alonzo. Okay, listen, I'm going to tell you why it's not going to happen. And when I tell you, it's going to make a lot of sense. In fact, it's going to make the most sense of any scenario, I maintain, any scenario that anybody would possibly present you for or against today. It's not because I don't think they should do it, but I'm going to tell you why it's unlikely they do it. There's two big reasons, but you'll have to wait a little bit for that. The thing that we do need to talk about, though, is some stats from this Raiders Chiefs game last night in the AFC West about the Raiders' record in one-score games and how big a deal it is that the Titans boast the kind of record that they do. This is from our buddy Jason Fitz of ESPN. Last year's Raiders team won 7 games on walk-off plays. This year's team has now lost 4 one-score games. A tale of 2 seasons. 4 losses by a combined 14 points. And he writes as a, just miserable Raiders fan, wow. You hold that up against Mike Vrabel's record in one-score games this year. He's 3-1. And that's one not close game that they've played. And the one not close game that they played is the Bills, the massacre at Buffalo, as it will forever be known this year. You've got a record of 9-3 in these one-score games in the last 2 seasons. And total, since Mike was hired in 2018, now in season number 5, 23-11. So the thing that's a coin flip for basically every other franchise in the league, they've turned to their advantage. Between that and the way that they operate in the red zone, both offensively, as the top red zone offense in the nation, in the league, and as one of the best red zone defenses in football, because not only do they have the talent to make a play in short spaces like that, but they also, I thought some of the coaching calls in that game, going back and watching it again, I thought they were brilliant on the defensive side of the football. And I think not enough credit is being distributed across the board defensively outside of, oh my God, Jeff just ran down Terry McLaurin. Jeff Simmons is the savior of Titans football. Yes, he's great, but also they put him in a lot of great positions to succeed. So I want to let me hear from Mike Vrabel about the red zone, because he was asked about this particularly yesterday. And as I try to pull myself out of trying to change what the Titans are, I've given up that fight. 6 years it took for them to break me. Finally, I give up. Let's hear from Mike Vrabel about the red zone.
Yeah, probably 30% of the game is spent in the red zone or on third down, and that's a large chunk of it. We have to be better offensively on third down. That's about being in third and manageable and eliminating the third and long situations that everybody's numbers aren't very good. So, right now our focus is going to be about, staying on track, on schedule offensively to create some of those, 3rd and 3, 3rd and 2, 3rd and 5 situations and then convert them. And then just trying to find ways to get down to the red zone where we've been really good.
It's Mike Vrabel talking about how the Titans operate in the red zone and the emphasis that they put on situational football, particularly in that way. What did Jeff say when he was on the show last Thursday, Jeff Simmons? that he was talking about. This is the most important day of the week. This is when we do the red zone. This is the most important day that we have because we're going to work through all kinds of different red zone scenarios.
Third down,
red zone. Those are the kind of things that they are taught, all coaches emphasize situational football to an extent. But the specificity in which you see them take it, the Titans, from practice to implementation in a game, it's a real thing. And for as angry as I get because they are not a particularly watchable brand of offensive football, the two places where they excel are the two places that matter most. And the one place, technically, red zone, offense or defense, where you're playing 30%, upwards of 30% of any given game. If you want to play the percentages, how about that? You remember who was the Grizzlies coach that was pounding on the desk? How about that for or take that for data? You remember that a couple of years ago?
Fizdale, right?
David Fizdale?
I think so.
I wish we had that as a drop. Maybe we do that at some point. Hint, hint. 615-737-1045 is how you jump in. Here's what you're going to need to jump in for. I have in my possession, well, actually Lucas has in his possession because he seems to be the keeper of the keys in every situation. Lucas, what do you have for people that they're going to want to get involved with winners and losers of the sports weekend for?
I have 2 tickets to the Tennessee game on Saturday against Alabama, the 3:30 Eastern kickoff in Neyland Stadium. If you call 615-737-1045, you have to give us the winners and or losers of the sports weekend, and the best one will go to the game. Don't call in saying, am I caller 5? Please, for the love of God, give us your winners and losers of the weekend.
It's very simple. It is nearly as basic as caller 5 is. Nearly, but not quite. 615-737-1045 for the opportunity to head to Rocky Top this Saturday to see the Battle of Unbeatens. As Lucas said, number 6 Tennessee hosting number 3 Alabama at Neyland Stadium. There will also be a live broadcast from Knoxville with Ramon Foster, Ron Slay, Will Bowling, and as if I heard the promo correctly, Kayla Anderson. Thanks to Wilson Bank and Trust. For more information, visit 1045thezone.com/events today. So with that being said, give me the circus music. Winners and losers of the sports weekend. Lot to choose from across the board. I trust that you will have different kinds of nominees, but I'm going to take an obvious one off the board. The winner last night, Travis Kelce. Not just because the Chiefs went on to continue their ownership of the Oakland or Las Vegas Raiders since Pat Mahomes has been their quarterback. 7 receptions, 25 yards, a long catch of 8 yards, and 4 touchdowns for Travis Kelce last night. No player in NFL history has caught that many touchdown receptions under 100 yards but one player. Marvin Jones, 93 yards, 4 touchdown receptions. That's the closest that there's been. You want to talk about efficiency? How about more touchdown receptions than average yards per catch? 4 touchdowns to an average catch of 3.6 yards for Travis Kelce. He is my winner of the sports weekend today. Lucas is fielding your phone calls for the opportunity to win these Tennessee-Alabama tickets. Who just went down the trapdoor? It's up to you to decide. Davante Adams would be my selection. He is the loser of the sports weekend for his childish behavior. Not childish, frankly, unacceptable behavior. Walking off the field, everybody saw him slam his helmet down when he gets kind of jammed at the line of scrimmage on the final play. He runs into Hunter Renfrow. The game is, there's no pass interference called because the person interfering with the Raiders wide receiver is another Raiders wide receiver. Slams his helmet down after the end of the game because, of course, it's frustrating. But that frustration cannot be taken out on the harmless cameraman who's just trying to do his job as you walk to the tunnel and you straight up chest shove him. Like he hit this guy with some force. Davante Adams, wide receivers in the NFL are not thought of as overwhelming people. Davante Adams, a large human being. Now, I saw he put out a public apology on both Twitter and in the locker room after the fact, but I saw that this cameraman has filed suit in this particular case, as he should have. And Lucas, I don't want to steal your joke, as to what he should do in the aftermath of filing this lawsuit.
Man should not go anywhere without wearing a neck brace.
Exactly right.
And or crutches.
You know what? Get your money. Devontae Adams has plenty off these Taco Bell commercials that I wonder if they're going to be in jeopardy now because he appears to be kind of a dirtbag with behavior like that.
So my winners of the weekend, interim coaches. If you were an interim head football coach in college football on Saturday, you probably had a good weekend. Mickey Joseph leads Nebraska to a second straight win over Rutgers since they fired Scott Frost. After upsetting Pitt last week, Georgia Tech beats Duke in overtime under Brent Key after they fired Jeff Collins. Jim Leonard leads Wisconsin to a 42-7 beatdown of Northwestern in his first game since Paul Chryst was fired. And Sean Aguano in Arizona State upset number 21 Washington at home 45-38. That's the most points they have scored all season since they fired Herm Edwards. Interim coaches, my winners of the weekend. My losers, Iowa fans who have had to suffer the nepotism that is the situation with Brian Ferentz, the offensive coordinator for the Hawkeyes. Listen to this sequence. And this came from Shehan Jayaraja. I hope I got that right. He's a national college football writer for CBS Sports. So, Iowa taking on Illinois this past weekend. They punted from their own 16-yard line. They recovered the muff. Illinois muffs the punt. They recover it on the Illinois 35. So Iowa has it 1st and 10 on the Illinois 35. They go 3 plays for -6 yards, and they punt it. They force a fumble and recover it at the Illinois 5. They go 4 plays for -4 yards, and they kick a field goal. That is, in total, a 15-play, -10-yard, 76-punt-yard field goal drive.
Oh, my God.
Iowa Hawkeye fans are the losers of the weekend.
So Kirk Ferentz is one of these people who anytime you type his name into a Google search, the word that follows after it's now like Jimbo Fisher. It's Kirk Ferentz buyout. It's what Iowa fans have been Googling with great haste. It is not an ideal situation for either of these organizations because Kirk Ferentz is just sitting here like, bleep it. I'm getting the bag either way. You can fire me for a terrible offense if you want. We're still going to mess around, win 9 games this year, and continue this just horrendous display of offensive football. A decent nominee for losers of the sports weekend. 615-737-1045 for the opportunity to win a pair of Tennessee, Alabama tickets this weekend. Let's start with Phil in Portland.
Hey, Buck, I just wanted to get on here, man. There was 2 things I wanted to talk to you about real quick. I got to make it quick because I don't want to hear that music come up on me. I wanted to talk to you about this backup quarterback for Alabama. Everybody just keeps saying, well, I think Tennessee will beat them. They got that backup quarterback. So what do we know about this backup quarterback, Buck? Is he any good? And then my next question is, I don't know if this game against the Panthers, it was a blowout, but they were dropping like flies. They lost their kicker, Robbie Gould. They lost Nick Bosa. They lost Emmanuel Samuels. I think that was their cornerback, if I'm saying his name right. But it's turf that keeps giving everybody problems. But they're all about player safety. Won't they rip this cheap turf up and put some money into some grass? That's my comments today, Buck. Thank you.
Thanks for the call, Phil. So that wasn't really a winner or loser of the sports weekend. What happened there?
No, he called before we set out that.
Oh, so that's on me.
Yes, it is.
Okay. We can talk about Jalen Milroe in a little bit, although, I mean, he did turn the ball over as Alabama's quarterback at a tremendous rate. Alabama was lucky to have won that game, and it came down to the final play call, of course, for A&M. So losers, Texas A&M. Haynes King. We'll go ahead and make that Phil in Portland's nominee. Texas A&M, the way that they lost that game, a tough scene. How about Rock and Mount Juliet next?
Hey, Buck. My loser of the sports weekend is going to be Sal Licata when he said when the Mets got booted from the MLB playoffs, when he said the Mets would win the East earlier in the year. My winner of the
is that their play-by-play guy, Rock?
I think it's just a sportscaster.
Okay.
And then the winner is going to be Ball Nation after being down for a decade plus, going from Kippen leaving to Derek Doofus to the used car salesman Butch Jones, and then the fan revolt with Shiano getting Coach Cornbread, and now Ball Nation has a coach. Remember, Saban turned Bama around really in year 2.
Oh, look at that. Saving comparisons for Josh Heupel. That make you nervous for Lucas? Look at you. I agree with both of those things. I mean, the Mets. Do you know what the Mets payroll was this year? To spend all that money. I know Lucas isn't paying attention to postseason baseball. And really, the collapse of the Mets in the wild card round is really the only thing that I've noticed so far from the postseason in trying to keep up with the NFL. But $282.7 million is what the Mets had in payroll this year, all to peter out in the wild card against the Padres. Just an unbelievable collapse by a franchise that just tried to buy their way in. And, not to the Braves fans certainly enjoying it in the background. And yeah, Vols fans, pretty good winner. Let's go to Adam in Nashville next.
Hey, good afternoon. Hey, I just want to say the biggest winner of the weekend has to be Hendon Hooker. So he did over 250 through the air, 56 on the ground. Heck, he whipped LSU so bad in the Bayou that Brian Kelly lost his Southern accent. So I would say that he is the biggest winner of the weekend. I mean, he's literally resurrected a dead program. Hell, 3 years ago they were thinking about shuttering up the joint and just selling it off, and now we're undefeated, 5-0 to start the year. So I would say the biggest losers, though, it has to be. It's a tie between the Texas A&M boosters and the LSU boosters, because hell, they gave Jimbo Fisher $100 million guaranteed over 10 years, and he's on the same pace as who was their last coach? Identical record over
Kevin
3-year
Sumlin.
period. So Sumlin, so has exactly the same record.
Thanks for the call, Adam. Hooker or A&M? Or Hooker and A&M, a pretty good nominee. We'll get more of your phone calls for the winners and losers of the sports weekend. The opportunity to win Tennessee and Alabama tickets. The best one, we're sending you to Rocky Top on Saturday. 615-737-1045 is how you get involved. All right. I was trying to see how long we could ride it before the drop. Welcome back. ABBA every Tuesday. I'm convinced.
I'm down.
Make my day. 615-737-1045. Take a chance. Give us the winners and losers of the sports weekend. We'll send you to see Tennessee, Alabama this Saturday, made possible by Famous Dave's Barbecue. The best barbecue for your buck, only at Famous Dave's. What have you thought of the first couple of submissions? Because they're not bad submissions. I think you're like me today. You're looking for a little more pizzazz.
Yeah.
You're looking for some style points.
Yeah, style points are important. We're the AP poll.
So not the NFL, where a win is a win.
Correct.
But we're college football, where you need to kind of run up the score a little bit.
Yeah, we're trying to get college game day to your town. Style points matter.
Herb Street scared a lot of people yesterday.
Herb Street didn't do anything.
Well, not Herb Street, yeah. The college game day people scared Vols fans a little bit yesterday because they had a music rights violation in their hype video announcing that Rocky Top was coming back. Or Knoxville was coming, or game day, damn it, was coming back to Knoxville to Rocky Top. Those things, all of those things, just in the wrong order. And then Kirk Herbstreit had to get out there as the ESPN PR guy and be like, wait.
Calm down.
Not so fast, my friends.
We'll be there.
I saw conspiracy theories about, is Lee Corso still with us? Are they not coming to game day anymore? Yeah, like it got reckless there for about 30 minutes.
He is going to be there because they put out a new tweet saying whole crew's coming.
Yeah, well, they had to because people were alleging that Lee Corso was no longer with us and scared the entire college football population. Let's see if Billy's got some style points for us. Talk to me, Billy.
Hey, yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'd say the biggest loser of the weekend was, an absolute boneheaded play that they would go for a 2-point conversion when they could have tied the game in Kansas City. And then I would just have to say the best one is just Tennessee and the way they went into Death Valley. Not only the players played really hard, but all the fans showed up and they took over that stadium.
I absolutely agree. I think, and we talked about this on Monday, like the fan support was as cool as beating down a top 25 team 40-13. I really thought. I'm jealous that, well, I'm not, because we're going to be doing Vibes Fest on Saturday, and then I'm going to go find a place to watch Tennessee, Alabama here in Nashville. But I got a little FOMO. You're not? No, you're going to Orlando.
I'm changing my flight because it has me landing I might miss the beginning of the game.
No, you're not changing your flight.
I'm changing my flight to land much earlier, and then I'm going to find a Tennessee alumni bar in Orlando. I've already done my research, and I'm going to watch the game there.
You know what? I respect. So wait, you're going to leave the airport?
Correct. my next
to go
flight,
outside of the security, just to watch this game is a bold strategy, my friend.
My next flight is at 10 p.m., so I'll have plenty of time after the game to get back to the airport. I got TSA pre-check, the whole deal. I'll go back in. Just got my carry-on with me, no checked bags.
Unreal. How about Chris in Gallatin next?
Hey, the biggest loser of the weekend, it was Oklahoma. I've never seen a team fall off the table so quickly to go from top 10 contender to scared to death of Kansas coming to our building and never got in the game. It's like they forgot how to play football against Texas.
Zero pride in that game, in the Red River rivalry.
You shouldn't even have a label on that game. They ought to take away the label. Biggest winner, I'm going to say Byron Young from Tennessee. He had a coming out party. The Tennessee defense has gotten better and better as the season goes. He is going to chase Bryce Young all over the yard this weekend. Around the hole, round the bowl, down the hole, roll tide, roll. Let's go, Big Orange.
I appreciate the passion. So what will we know? I mean, we won't know until game time, right, with Bryce Young?
There's no reason for them to tell us.
No
reason whatsoever. It would be dumb for Alabama to come out and say, yeah, he's playing or he's not playing, and before game time.
The Red River rivalry, the title should be taken off of it. It's true. 49-0 is a sham.
Kansas. Chomping at the bit. Bring it, Oklahoma.
They want a piece. They saw what Lincoln Riley's little brother did to Oklahoma with the TCU. By the way, TCU rolling.
Kansas played TCU a whole lot closer than Oklahoma did, and they were with their backup quarterback.
Yeah, it's that is the potential. Well, I mean, it's already spiraled quickly. 615-737-1045. We got Rick in Nashville next.
Hey, Buck Lucas.
Good to talk to you guys, man. I listen to your show all the time. I'll listen to 104.5 The Zone practically all day.
Flattery will get you everywhere, Rick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Good start.
Yeah.
Good start.
That leads me to my winner. And I have to say, I listen all the time. I'm a huge sports fan. So the sports fans of Nashville and everywhere else that are listening on apps that listen to 104.5 The Zone app, or the segment this morning with Ron Slay taking us to church was hands down one of the best segments I've ever heard on radio. And I could listen to that all day long. He needs to come back on with your show and tell us some more stories about his trip to LSU this past weekend.
We should have done that. That's a mistake by us. We did not think to have Slay or Will on. And I mean, I guess you can still do that at some point, since you are now in control after I leave today, because this is my Friday.
Good point.
So I think that's a good recommendation, since you're using a lot of the good topics while I'm still here. You're not going to have me to just lean on the way that you like to.
We got a ton of calls.
You're so scared of the phones. 615-737-1045. How about John in the borough?
Hey, guys. I'm going to say the biggest winner of the weekend goes out to the king, Derrick Henry. Over 100 yards rushing, 2 touchdowns. Seems to me like he's out of his little slump with a banged-up offensive line. I'd say that's pretty impressive. And then the biggest loser, it's pretty obvious in my opinion, Brian Kelly leaves Notre Dame to go to LSU. The Vols roll into town, and they absolutely embarrass him. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but there's a video on Twitter of Brian Kelly with one of his recruits holding up an L, and that's exactly what the Vols gave him, and he got obliterated for it on Twitter by Vol Nation.
That's outstanding. I mean, Brian Kelly looked shell-shocked in that post game.
He's never that animated on the sideline. I mean, he's getting in players' faces. He's having meltdowns.
Wait. What?
I feel like Brian
Kelly is, in fact, it's the least likable thing about Brian Kelly is how red-faced and screaming
I guess
he is.
He does get the purple face going sometimes.
I as somebody who has watched more Notre Dame football than any other college football program, that guy's a bleep hole on the sideline to a bunch of college kids. That's why he there's a great many reasons. One, because he appears to be a bit of a fraud. A politician, did you call him, about the way that he tries to assimilate family.
I mean, he's the son of a politician.
But yeah, no, Brian Kelly has always been that. It's the least likable thing. Among many unlikable things about Brian Kelly, that is one of my least favorites. All right. Lucas's vote counts for 1, mine counts for 2. Who are we sending to Rocky Top this weekend?
Let's take one more. Let's see if one more.
Wait, you're not sold?
Yeah, I need one to sway me.
Okay.
Let's take one more and see if they can deliver.
How about Steven in Clarksville?
Hey, guys. So my biggest loser has to be Alabama State head coach Eddie Robinson Jr. coming after Deion Sanders.
What was the nature of that, Steven? What happened? Explain to me what happened there, because I saw the exchange and how bad it was post-game, but, what was the genesis of that? Because I didn't see the game.
So from my understanding of it is the head coach was upset that Deion didn't come and, I guess, chit-chat with him at the middle of the field during pregame warm-ups. So I guess the butthurt went to a level 10 with him and really caused pretty much a TikTok frenzy and Twitter frenzy. But my biggest winner, I've got to give it to Mike Heath, radio broadcaster, leaving the game, hearing over the loudspeaker that the game is going on, and absolutely bull rushes an unknown person to get back in that booth. Mike Heath gets my vote.
Wait. What happened with Mike?
So when David Long picked that pass off and he's running down the field, the clock runs out, right?
Yeah,
it goes to zeros and the game's over. So Mike wraps up the call. He sends it into the Titans locker room report and he runs to the bathroom. And then Mike hears on the PA that, they're reviewing the play. There's 6 seconds left. Titans got to take a knee or at least, do the QB sneak out of the end zone. And he said on the air, he said, "You have never seen a man run out of the bathroom so fast." And he ran over somebody on the way back to the booth.
You're kidding me.
Yes.
What an all-star,
very
man.
necessary.
Well, because I was talking to some of the team PR staff after the game, and they're like, how about that ending? And I didn't notice because Long picks the pass off.
Yeah.
I get up out of my seat. I'm walking to the locker room.
He was knocked down, so they ruled him down.
So they had to.
So Mike had to come sprinting back into the booth because we're still playing ball.
That's a really good one by Steven. All right, we're going to take the commercial break to decide. Well, let me ask you this question, okay? Because this is up to you. And I don't mean to put you in a bad spot.
Real quick, though, I don't know if I agree with Steven's loser because Eddie Robinson had a good explanation for the icy exchange postgame. He said Deion had been disrespecting them all week, that he avoided him in pregame, that Deion apparently walked through their offensive huddle before the game, and then he wants to, bro hug him and be friends afterward.
Yeah.
And he's like, "I'm not friends with you. Don't, I don't want any part of that."
I'm with that. All right, let me ask you a question, though, okay? Because people are saying that they've been, Tyler Dow just said, I've tried to call 200 times to get in. Do you want to do this throughout the course of the show? Do you want, because this is a significant game. Now, let me say this, all right? Because we're not going to put Lucas in a bad spot where we just completely lose him for the rest of the show because he's on the phones. We can do this periodically. We'll do the show, or we'll take calls around doing the show.
Yeah.
But do you want it? Do you think that's fair?
It's what the people want.
Okay. Then open it back up. 615-737-1045. We're doing winners and losers until 1 o'clock today. At the end of the show, we'll tell you who's going to Tennessee, Alabama, because I think it's only fair. This is a big game. People want to go. We want to give as many chances to do that, courtesy of Famous Dave's Barbecue. So we'll get into some Titans topics, an interesting conversation around DJ Moore that is being had right now by Dan Orlovsky about a potential Titans trade target. More info on that coming up next.
It is 11:03. Good morning from the Superbook.com Sports Desk. I'm Lucas Panzika. The Chiefs were able to stop a Raiders 2-point try, and they did not relinquish the lead for a 30-29 AFC West win at home on Monday Night Football. They improved to 4-1. The Raiders drop to 1-4. Travis Kelce with a huge game, 4 touchdown catches. Titans are into the off week at 3-2. They sit atop the AFC South. They will come out of the idle week to host the Indianapolis Colts. But the Braves playoff run starts today in the NLDS. They host the Phillies at 12:07. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Second down on a Tuesday. Welcome in. Welcome back. You've been hanging out with us. We're happy to have you. 615-737-1045 is the number. We're going to be talking some Titans football here in just a second. Trevor Sikkema is going to be here, and we'll go around the NFL as well with our buddy from Pro Football Focus, who had some marriage advice emanate from a pretty interesting place and an SEC head football coach. Explain more about that later on. You are going to have the opportunity to win Vols and Alabama tickets until 1 o'clock today. Lucas has decided. He came down from his pedestal on high, and he said, the people want it. So let me give it to him. Your opportunity to win Tennessee Bama tickets throughout the course of the show, not just winners and losers of the sports weekend. We're going to mix them in while we do show around it. So we'll get to as many of you as humanly possible to make sure that happens, because it's a cool thing, and we're happy to be able to send somebody to the game.
Lines are loaded, so as soon as a line opens, then hopefully you can get in. But Lebowski in the YouTube chat says, "Damn it, I've been dialing 1-800-CARS for kids."
It's a catchy tune. So before we talk about the NFL and some of the Titans' offensive numbers that came out today, after the Monday Night Football game, we got to talk about a situation that the Titans have caused, or at least in part caused. You see these comments from Ron Rivera about Carson Wentz? It's a pretty tough spot, and I'm going to tell you why I think Ron Rivera is being done wrong here, even though he has publicly apologized for his comments. Now, we know that the NFC East, down bad franchises, but Eagles are 5-0. Giants are 4-1, as are the Cowboys, and there is the Washington Commander football skins team at 1-4 after a soul-crushing interception loses them the game against Tennessee. So Ron Rivera is asked, hey, the other 3 down bad franchises in your division, they've kind of got it figured out, even though Dallas is doing it without their starting quarterback. What's been the problem for you? Lucas, can I hear from the Washington head football coach, Ron Rivera's comments in their entirety yesterday?
Why do you think the teams in the division are farther ahead at this point?
Quarterback.
Is that? I mean, with quarterback, like the Cowboys, for instance, they don't have Dak Prescott this season and still have been able to
Well,
win.
they started with
him,
Dak, and they build around Dak, and the offense is built around Dak. Their backup's a guy that is very solid inside of what they do. And the truth is that this is a quarterback-driven league. And if you look at the teams that have been able to sustain success, they've been able to build it around a specific quarterback.
Chose the quarterback here, though, so do you have any regrets about that, or how do you?
No, I got no regrets about their quarterback. I think our quarterback has done some good things. There's been a couple of games that he struggled. But you look at his numbers from yesterday, and you would say, okay, look at his numbers he's had throughout the year. There was a time he was, very solid. And then, we had the unfortunate Philadelphia game, and he struggled a little bit in the Dallas game. But the way he performed yesterday, it just shows you what he's capable of. And, we chose him because we believe him. We chose him because we looked at what we felt were things that pointed towards him.
So it felt like in the one-word answer, and he did expand, but when he responds simply with one-word quarterback, it feels like he's taking a knife to the side of Carson Wentz, who, frankly, I'm sorry, he played well against the Titans.
I said that yesterday, and you kind of, I don't know.
No. Did you?
I did.
I don't believe you.
Yes. We'll is that the Progressive commercials where you throw the challenge flag? We need to start
Go
doing
to the
that
review.
Start doing that on the show because we can actually review it.
Well, you know what? For as many things as you have said that get attributed to me, I get to steal one from you, all right? You literally called me like a pair of sunglasses, like you can hide behind me the other day. So, you know what? Bleep you. I'm going to take one from you, even if it was unintentional. It was, but I'm taking it anyway. Carson Wentz was fine against the Titans. He did throw the interception. David Long made a great play. So when Ron Rivera goes into that, I thought the way that he expanded upon it was accurate. I thought the assessment was accurate. I thought Ron Rivera was honest. And I don't think that the people consuming this, I'm not just talking about fans, I'm talking about media. In fact, I'm more specifically talking about media. That people aren't mature enough to handle a little bit of honesty from the head coach. I understand that if you're a player, you're going to react to that negatively. In fact, the reporting on it, because Ron Rivera went on local DC radio today and had like a formal apology that I'm sure the PR staff helped him craft. The PR staff got to Wentz before the head coach did about the comments to just say, hey, Carson, just so you have a heads up, this is what happened. Ron's going to talk to you, but still, like, they got to him first to be like, hey, bud, like, we got to do some damage control here real quick. I hate that it's like that. I hate that everything is so hypersensitive and everybody has a position on it because the internet, social media, it allows us, everybody, to have an opinion on things. I'm not saying that people should be discriminated against from having opinion. I just hate that the conversation is not mature enough to handle a little bit of honesty from a head coach who's been like, yeah, we're kind of in quarterback flux. And it's not necessarily Carson, but the other guys have had stability. It's a little bit of Nyheim Hines, though, talking about the Colts, where his comments from August about Matt Ryan are drastically different than his comments after the Titans just beat them in week 4. So I think it's a tough spot. I think Ron Rivera, I understand why he apologized. It was the right thing for him to do. But I still hate that this just buzzsaw stirs up around what I thought was really, really harmless stuff.
I think he could do more there to avoid his answer being taken out of context because it was one word. Like, they had to ask the follow-up for him to give the explanation about stability at the quarterback position. He was asked about why you're behind the rest of your division. He said one word, quarterback.
Yeah, no, I'm not saying he handled it perfectly. I'm just saying that the explanation, people gravitated to the one word, right? And that's right.
The context is very important because he's absolutely right. But
that's why I wanted to hear the full clip.
Sure, but I think he could have done more there to make sure that his comments aren't taken out of context. Because if it's not for that follow-up, then what's the discussion? Ron Rivera hates Carson Wentz, right? That's the discussion. And it would kind of be of his own doing.
Well, yeah.
Because he answered with one word.
I hear you. I'm not saying he did it perfectly. I'm just saying I thought it was kind of lame how quickly that spun out of control. 615-737-1045. We'll mix your winners and losers in here for the chance to head to Rocky Top this weekend. Jennifer is in Cookeville.
Yes.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hello?
Yes, you're on the radio.
Thank you. My winners are the Vols fans for turning the Tiger Stadium into a home game.
Yes, ma'am.
And my losers are the New York Giants, the trainer on the sideline that everybody got to see too much of.
Thank you for the call, Jennifer. We didn't talk about that. I don't know who the player was. I mean, half his butt is hanging out of the pants, and they're clearly like working on his hip or his thigh or something. But the optics of the camera angle, that's a good nominee by Jennifer. Jennifer's out here making y'all sweat for these Vols Bama tickets. So the Vols fans who traveled and the New York Giants player who looked like he was getting the Deshaun Watson treatment from a trainer from a certain kind of light. We'll continue to take your phone calls on winners and losers of the sports weekend. Trevor Sikkema is going to join us coming up next. We'll go around the NFL. We'll talk about the Titans offense and how he views it as somebody who studies all 32 NFL teams. I'm Buck Rising. It's 104.5 The Zone.
Right. I know you have strong thoughts on weddings. I'm in the middle of planning one right now. Do you have any advice for me?
Who are you marrying?
His name is Trevor.
Okay, yeah, well, I'll have to just set up a meeting and I'll talk to him. Okay, so where's Trevor from?
He's from Florida.
What does Trevor do for a living?
He works in sports as well, covers football.
He does what?
He covers football as well.
Really? Well, I don't know. We'll keep a close eye on it, but whatever you and Trevor decide, I would kind of keep it on the down low, which you failed to do that. Trevor was probably planning to, but you didn't. So go ahead and don't say anything else about it, but as soon as the season's over, or even an off week, go elope. Trust me on that. Go elope. Because basically every female in the family is going to terrorize you guys until it's over. Once it's over, I mean, they'll be upset for a few days, but it'll be over. And then, you cruise along, have a happy marriage, have a happy life.
I'll pass along the message. Thanks, Coach. Congrats on the win.
Trevor, unless he's crazy, is totally on my side. And trust me on this. If Trevor doesn't have the sense to do that, tell him to call me, because, I mean, he needs to do. I've told all my kids, I'll give you $10,000 extra if you elope. So far, they haven't done it, but I would, too.
I'll have him call you.
His name is Trevor Sikkema, to be exact, and he joins us now on 104.5 The Zone. All right, give us the status of your conversation with Mississippi State head coach Mike Leach. Have the conversations been had?
Well, the conversations have not been had yet, but you can guarantee the very first question that's going to be out of my mouth is going to be, so, Coach, about that 10K, about that 10K we brought up there. Let's get the logistics of that out of the way first. But no, obviously that was it was definitely a what is my life moment watching Mike Leach talk about my future wedding on national television. So it was a pretty wild weekend when that happened.
Oh, well, we're certainly happy for you, buddy, and that was laugh out loud funny to watch that live. Trevor Sikkema of Pro Football Focus here with us on 104.5 The Zone. Well, I'm sure you've had that clip sent to you 1,000,001 times, so we'll move on. What am I to do with the Titans offense, Trevor? It drives me insane. I know they win. Mike Vrabel's record in one-score games is unimpeachable, 23-11 since he got hired in 2018, and yet Lucas was yelling at me yesterday because they don't entertain me enough, and I come in here every Monday complaining after a win. What do I do with them?
No, I mean, this is, I think, the conversation that has been had about the Titans for the last couple of years, right? Because I think fans naturally watch teams like the Bills or the Chiefs or when the Buccaneers were going off or when Aaron Rodgers has had a lot of weapons. And they watch these top teams in the NFL just blow everybody out, just have these incredible offenses. And, you're making jokes on Twitter by the second quarter because you already know your team's going to win. Like, it's not going to be even close. Whether you're a Chiefs fan or a Bills fan, whoever, you've got 20, 30 points halfway through the game, and you never even have to worry a bit. Fans hate having to worry, right? And I think that's when you look at the Titans, when you look at just how their roster is made up, they're a team that's going to be very methodical in what they do. A lot of their offense is going to be based around Derrick Henry. And with those things being the case, and especially when you look at them not having A.J. Brown anymore, them having new receivers, you're leaning on a rookie, you're leaning on a new guy in Robert Woods. The tight end offense isn't exactly what it's been in the past. When you change all of those things, you slow down the game, and it gets more controlled, and the Titans like that, but it also brings down the margin for error because you really limit how much you're ever going to, quote-unquote, blow a team out. Mike Vrabel is, like you said, unbelievable at these one-score games. The statistics and the math should be against him at this point, and they just are not. This is the identity of the Titans. Play every team very close. They're going to try to play a more controlled style, a less explosive style. Not that they don't have explosive plays. I don't mean to say that. They have playmakers. But this is the Titans' identity. This is the way that it's going to go. So if Titans fans are sitting here wondering where the easy wins are going to come from, where the double-digit wins are going to start to pile up, I don't think they're going to be there this year. But they are sitting here at 3-2. Shoot, they could have very well be the New York Giants in the first week, and if you take that Buffalo game away, they're basically at a theoretical 4-1, and they're sitting here at a realistic 3-2. So honestly, if you're a Titans fan, I think you got to be happy about where they are. even though it does get a little bit stressful to be a Titans fan.
No, Trevor, they're fine with it. It's me that's got the problem. I'm getting phone calls all day yesterday, getting peppered. Like, what the hell is wrong with you? They win, and I'm just sitting there watching them. And you're exactly correct. I've had this gripe for 6 years about them, and yet they continue to play this style, and it is more successful than not in certain moments. But I mean, you bring up the idea of explosive plays. They're 24th in explosive play rate last year. We know how big a part of that Derrick Henry's injury is, but they've only got 16 gains of 20 or more yards so far through these 5 games, Trevor, outside of penalty and things like defensive pass interference that can move it. I mean, do you find that sustainable as somebody who watches all these teams across the league in your work for Pro Football Focus? Because that I think is my biggest hang up.
Well, you certainly want those kinds of playmakers, but do the Titans have those guys? I would tell you no. So when you look at the depth chart and when you look at the receivers, the playmakers, the tight ends, even the running backs outside of Derrick Henry, you say to yourself, okay, who are these like explosive guys, the guys who are going to get me those chunk gains? I don't know if they have those players on the team, right? That's just not how the identity is built. That's not how the depth chart is built. So look, is it a little more dangerous? Again, when you bring down the margin for error, you like to be controlled. You like things to be less volatile. You don't want to lean on explosive plays all the time to be your bread and butter, how you move the ball down the field on a drive-to-drive basis. But at the same time, you want a little bit more of that than the Titans certainly have. I think the biggest gripe from Titans fans at this point might be, okay, well, what happens when we go against the Bills, right? What happens when we go against the Chiefs? If we make the playoffs again, can we compete with these more explosive teams? The answer is probably not, unless the identity of a lot of these playmakers change a little bit. But they really are going to have to when it comes to those bigger games, and I'm sure a lot of people are looking forward to, as this team was a number 1 overall seed last year, knowing they're probably going to see him again, is that they want to be able to go toe-for-toe in that arena, and I just don't know if they have the makeup for it. It's just not the way the roster has been built. And so this style of offense that the Titans are playing, this feels like the way it's got to be. You've got to be more controlled. You've got to be more precise, more methodical. And look, the big-time throw rate right now for Ryan Tannehill is lower than it has been the last 2 years, certainly lower than it was in that first 2019 season when he was playing really, really well. So maybe you're hoping that gets bumped up a little bit. But, again, I go back to who's the ball going to? You know, where are the playmakers in this offense? How are you going to lean on guys to make explosives when explosives aren't necessarily their bread and butter and what their identity is? So I think it's just more of you got to look at the Titans roster. You got to look at the Titans offense and say, is this better than them being in the 20s for explosive play rate in the NFL? Because I'm not so sure it is. And if it is, maybe it's middle of the pack at best. This is just not going to be a team that you're going to see up in the top 10 of explosive plays. It's just not the way they're built.
All right, you're right. I give up. They broke me. Trevor Sikkema of Pro Football Focus here with us on 104.5 The Zone at Tampa Bay Trey is where you can follow him. Which team that was hoping for an upgrade at quarterback, which of these 4 do you think is regretting it the most through these 5 games, Trevor? Matt Ryan, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, or Carson Wentz?
I mean, it's kind of hard not to say Baker because the coach already gets fired. But yeah. I don't think the answer is Baker. I really do think the answer is the Indianapolis Colts with Matt Ryan. And I'm not saying that the Colts are completely dead. I still am maybe a crazy person in having a little bit of faith in Matt Ryan because I actually liked the move when it was made. But, you know, there were reports out there that Matthew Stafford could have been had from the Indianapolis Colts if maybe they would have upped the offer a little bit. They didn't really feel like Matthew Stafford at that point, whether it was the injury history or whatever, was worth giving up a ton of draft capital. We know that Chris Ballard's a big-time draft guy, so he values those draft picks a lot. Kind of went bargain shopping that way, didn't want to match the price that the Rams ended up doing. And look, Rams won the Super Bowl, and here we are with the Indianapolis Colts. And if they would have had Matthew Stafford, I think last year goes a lot different, certainly with it being him instead of Carson Wentz. And I think this year is going a lot different too. I think that you just look at where they are. And this was supposed to be, I know I'm in a Titans fan base area, and so this might be kind of not what they want to hear. But
they've been hearing it all offseason long, Trevor. You're not going to scare them. Go for it.
I thought the Indianapolis Colts, I thought it was their year, man. I really did. I thought it was their year I thought the Titans were going to take a little bit of a step back, as we talked about already on this phone call. But I think that it's the Indianapolis Colts. I think that they are the ones that have the biggest regret because they are the team that I think had the biggest opportunity to upgrade before they went after Carson Wentz and could have got a guy like Matthew Stafford, maybe could have made a different kind of a move at the quarterback position this offseason as well. So as much as Baker Mayfield has not worked out, as much as Carson Wentz is not working out in Washington either, I really do think the answer to this question has to be Indianapolis because of the high hopes that this team had this year.
Matt Rule gets fired yesterday by Carolina in a move that it felt like everybody could see coming. And watching, the amount of 49ers fans that took over that stadium in Charlotte en route to a difficult win where, Baker Mayfield leaves in a boot. The head coach's situation is what it is. But I don't feel that's a bad football team when I watch them, Trevor. Does that make sense? Because I love that. At least I love the talent on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, it's a talented football team. It's not a good football team, and that's why you make a change at head coach, right? You look at the roster and you say, okay, we've given you a couple of years now. Now, you got to remember this, too. Matt Rule, it was in his contract that he had full control over that roster. He had final say on the trades that were made, the draft picks that were selected, the final 53-man roster on game day, all of that. That was all in Matt Rule's contract when he signed with Carolina. So you look at the situation where, okay, you've acquired talent. There are good football players on this team. You're just not coaching them. You don't know how to coach them. And that was the biggest issue with Carolina for me over the last 2 years. The first year that Matt Rule was there, okay, it makes sense. You're bad. You're building a culture. You're getting other guys out. You're getting your guys in. But when you're in year 2 and starting in year 3, there has to be more of an identity for winning. And it's not as easy as just saying that out loud. But the big talking point that David Tepper had in his press conference, the owner for the Carolina Panthers, he said, we need to establish a winning culture. And that was clearly not something that Matt Rule was going to establish in Carolina. What was it? 1 in 27 in games where the opponent scores at least 17 points. 17 points. In the NFL, in today's NFL, that ain't that many points, 17. And you're 1 and 27? That's inexcusable. That shows that you don't have a winning culture. But you don't have a winning culture because it starts with you. Because you, as the head coach, as the leader, do not know how to win in the NFL. And that's what was always so crazy to me about the 7-year, $62 million contract that Matt Rule got, is that this is not an NFL guy. He was an assistant coach with the Giants back over almost a decade ago before he got hired. But come on. All this guy's success has happened at the college football level, and any coaches coached at both levels would tell you it's completely different. Not just the games themselves, but what you have to do. You have to talk to boosters. You have to talk to parents. You have to talk to recruits. That's so much of your job in college. And you hire coordinators, really, to coach these games. And it's just not the same in the NFL. It's a different ball game. Everything that you have to do has to do with just coaching on the field and making these guys better. So it was just – I agree with you completely. Whoever takes over for this Carolina Panthers team, it is not a roster that is completely devoid of talent, depending on what happens at the trade deadline with who they end up moving and all that. I think the roster is still good, and I think whoever's going to be head coach in there has a decent situation as long as they can go after a quarterback the way they want to.
At Tampa Bay Trey is where you can follow him. Trevor Sikkema, the NFL Stock Exchange, is the podcast that you absolutely must be listening to, and you can read all of his work at PFF.com. What is there another name other? I mean, it's so early in this process, Trevor, but you talk to coaches and scouts and all manner of people throughout the course of the or throughout the the entirety of the football community. Who should I be looking at other than DeMeco Ryans as a next NFL head coach that isn't being discussed enough?
Yeah, so you mentioned the NFL Stock Exchange podcast that I do. We just put on an episode yesterday doing the Fixing Your Franchise show where we went through the Carolina Panthers and we gave a lot of potential head coaches, both that we have heard and then also submissions that we like here. I don't know exactly what Sean Payton's situation is with New Orleans because I know he's still under contract until 2024. So I don't exactly know how that works with, can you talk to the guy? Can you not talk to the guy? But at the same time, you and I, we've been to the combine before. We know the talks happen, whether they're legal or not. I really do feel like, after listening to David Tepper yesterday at his press conference, believe that the timing of the firing for Matt Rule, wanting to be that first head coach vacancy open, is so that they could talk to Sean Payton first. Now, it would be pretty crazy for Sean Payton to spend all that time in New Orleans and then go to a divisional team in Carolina. But I think Sean Payton and his proven track record has to be a first call for Carolina, especially a team that's looking to establish a winning culture there. We mentioned DeMeco Ryans already. I'm shocked that Dan Quinn did not end up getting the head coaching job with the Denver Broncos for whatever reason, whether he thinks that he had the Cowboys job the next season or whatever it was. I think Dan Quinn's a fantastic leader. When you go back to his time being the Atlanta Falcons head coach, even in those seasons where they had those abysmal starts for both of those 7 and 9 years before he got canned, those players never gave up on him. Those players fought for him till the very last second that he was their head coach. That shows you the kind of man that you want being a leader for a team and a head coach and somebody the players believe in. So I think that Dan Quinn should absolutely be in that conversation as well. And then 2 other guys that I'll mention. Steve Steichen, the offensive coordinator for the Philadelphia Eagles. Eagles were the number 1 rushing offense in the NFL last year when that was clearly their strength of the team. And now as Hurts has continued to get better, guess what? They have become more balanced. He uses the offensive weapons very well. There's a lot of talent in Philadelphia, but Steve Steichen, their offensive coordinator, young guy, 37 years old, same as DeMeco Ryans, but he's going to be on that list as well. And the other one that I'll shout out for the Panthers specifically is Ken Dorsey, the offensive coordinator for the Buffalo Bills. He's 41, so still on the younger side of things. Obviously was a national championship winning quarterback for the University of Miami. But more important to this situation, he was the quarterbacks coach for the Carolina Panthers from 2013 to 2017, including that Cam Newton MVP season when they had their Super Bowl run. So OC of the Bills now, we're seeing all the points that he's putting up with Josh Allen. He's got that Carolina connection. Maybe they'll want to go back to him, maybe not. We'll see. But those are a handful of names that, as I've kind of talked to guys around the league and even looked at the situation myself, that are the ones that come to the forefront of who could be next in Carolina.
Trevor Sikkema, I'm sorry I missed you when you were in town for this Vandy Ole Miss. I assume it was Vandy Ole Miss that you were in town for over the weekend, but I hope you enjoyed Nashville, and I always appreciate you stopping by the show, my guy.
Appreciate it, Buck. Next time I'm in Nashville, drinks on me, all right?
Absolutely. Well, no, for as often as we ask you on the radio show for free, I got the drinks. Don't worry about it. Trevor Sikkema with us there on 104.5 The Zone. So, Vols Bama ticket, 615-737-1045, because there's a lot to process there from Trevor. What happened?
Who's the leader in the clubhouse here? I mean, I'm thinking Jennifer for the incident on the side. Well, I say incident, but the Giants trainer.
Was it an incident?
No, not an incident. The Giants trainer treating the Giants player in NSFW manners.
Why? Because his butt was out? All you see is butt. You don't even see a full butt. It's just, the top of 2 cheeks.
No, it's about the theater of the mind that it creates. But, I mean, I guess Jennifer's the leader in the clubhouse. Like, we need a little more juice here. We've had too much, like, Tennessee fans, winners, Brian Kelly, loser. Like, come on, let's get some creativity going.
You are such a hypocrite for yelling at me yesterday about demanding that the Titans win in a more aesthetically pleasing fashion, and now you're doing the same to the callers.
Oh, stop. That has nothing to do with this.
It's not fair.
This is a radio bit.
Not fair what you're
We
doing.
want creativity. Titans can win games however the hell they want to win games as long as they win the games.
All right. Well, this strikes me as one that may have some promise. How about voluntary in Mount Juliet?
Lord have mercy. Is it Saturday yet, Buck? Oh, my God.
It's going to be the longest week of your life, Terry.
I had to take 3 Aleve PMs last night just to get 2 hours sleep. I tell you, I'm fired up. But real quick, my loser of the week is perpetual losers. Somebody could call in on these guys every week. The Jacksonville Jaguars giving the Houston Texans their first win of the season. Way to go, Jags! Way to be the Jags. My winner for this past weekend is my nephew Kyle. And just real quick, Kyle is an alumnus of UT. My lady Vol and I infected him with the orange fever some 35 years ago. Kyle texted me Sunday, says he's going up to Knoxville Saturday without ticket. And I'll tell you why Kyle is a winner. Kyle is undergoing chemotherapy for Hodgkin's, and he's still upbeat, still the best young man, father of 3, the most incredible person you'd ever want to meet. That's what makes him my winner of the weekend.
Hell yeah, Terry. We appreciate the call. Look at that, Lucas.
There we go.
You demanded better and voluntary delivered.
He delivered.
Does that bump him above Jennifer and Chris right now?
I think that shoots him to the top right now.
Okay. Well, part of Mark next to voluntary's name. We'll continue to do it throughout the course of the show. 615-737-1045 for the opportunity to win Alabama at Tennessee tickets. So a lot of information there from Trevor Sikkema that we will process later on because we're going to talk about the Titans and trading for DJ Moore at 12:20. But next, the high school football hero of the week. It's time for one of our favorite segments of the week, Tennessee High School Football Heroes. This week, James Warmbrod joins us, Nashville Christian. He had 4 catches, 178 yards. How about that for some efficiency? And 2 touchdowns en route to a win. James, I appreciate you spending some time with us this afternoon. Before we talk about your performance, I mean, you had a bunch of teammates go off as well. This was quite the team performance by you guys as a whole.
Yes, sir. One of my best friends, Donovan Smith, with the 2 punt returns and a touchdown. He had an awesome game, and Jared Curtis, our freshman quarterback, just absolutely performing this season with great passes.
What's clicking for you guys right now?
So, I mean, obviously Jared coming up as a freshman, he's obviously turned some heads. I mean, he is absolutely playing like a baller. I mean, he, as a freshman, I mean, coming out here all offseason, he was learning the plays and everything, putting in that work. And, I mean, he's truly shocking people. And we have Donovan Smith, one of my best friends, on the punt returns. He's also one of our leading receivers as well. Our O-line is doing a great job holding the pocket for Jared. He does get a little antsy sometimes, but he's young, and he has a lot of room to grow. But I think we're all doing pretty good.
So, I mean, that's the most understandable or most relatable thing in the world. You get a little antsy, you're a freshman quarterback, you're trying to navigate to make sure that your teammates who are relying upon you. So what do you guys kind of do to settle him down in certain moments when you start to notice that?
So, I mean, all it takes is just a little conversation. Like, he just has to put the trust in the O-line, and they know that. And he's got to trust our receivers as well to catch the ball. And that's the most important thing, is just to trust in your teammates.
James Warmbrod, Nashville Christian, here with us for the Tennessee High School Football Hero segment.
So, James, you guys have strung 5 wins in a row now after you opened the season 0-2, losses on the road at FRA, at Good Pasture. And then you had that 31-7 win against BGA, and it's been nothing but W since then. Like we said, 49-19, the final at Clarksville Northwest last Thursday. So was there a turning point there? I mean, was there a moment you can look back to, a game where things just kind of turned the page, and now you're sitting here having won 5 in a row and at 5-2?
Yes, sir. So coming into the season, we were a young team. We had a lot of seniors graduate. We had a lot of opportunities that had to be filled, a lot of shoes to be filled. And I think so far we've been doing a great job in filling those shoes from the seniors last year. And coming off that last loss, it was just a mindset. Going through those games, we were just shooting ourselves in the foot, a lot of mistakes. And now it's just we've just been capitalizing on those and just making sure that we are playing the best game that we can play no matter what opponent it is, no matter if it's a DCA or if it's a team like Mount Juliet. It's just the fact that we need to play to our best of ability and not play down to our opponent. And I think we've been doing that a great job these past 5 games.
Well, I know that DCA game will be looming in a couple of weeks, James, but you guys finishing runner-up last year in D2 Single A, the state championship loss to DCA. How hard is it when you pick up all this momentum and you win 5 in a row not to look ahead at that regular season finale against DCA and that goal that I know is the goal for you guys to win a state championship? How tough is it to try to kind of block that out and just focus on, the upcoming game, which for y'all this week is Columbia Academy?
Yes, sir. It's tough. Like Coach Felder said, our head coach, he tells us to stay focused on this week. I know it's hard to, get ahead of that game because we want to get to that point so badly. But like you said, it's important to stay focused on this week and to not play down to the opponent that we have. And it's just really important to get the job done this week and then just take it 1 week at a time to better prepare ourselves for that big game at the end.
3-3 Columbia Academy is at Nashville Christian this Friday, 7 p.m. the kickoff. James, continued health and success throughout the course of the season, and we really appreciate you spending some time this afternoon.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much.
That's James Warmbrod, Nashville Christian, with a big win, 49-19, this past weekend. 615-737-1045. Let's squeeze a Tennessee-Alabama phone call in here before we let Lucas talk about where the 1045 The Zone high school game of the week is. Wesley is in Nashville.
Hey, what's going on?
Talk to me, Wes.
Hey, Lucas, first of all, great determination on catching that game, man. I appreciate what you're doing for the city of Knoxville. But my winner of the weekend has to be Tennessee and Coach Heupel. I mean, last year we were pretty much nothing. We've been counted out for as long as I can remember, and that man has turned the program around. He not only has had 3 top 25 wins, but we got game day the week before last, and now we got game day again this week. I mean, he is turning this program around, and he hasn't even had a recruiting class like last year's recruiting class was a wash because he only had a couple months. I mean, what this man is doing for UT is special. And then my losers has to be the Mets, because not only did they give up that 10-game lead to Atlanta, go Braves, but on top of that, they got beat in the first round. So I hope that every time they hear that Narco song that they used to play, that it gives them salty tears to their eyes. Go Balls!
Thanks for the call. Finish strong there,
Yeah,
Wesley. Well
strong.
done. The Mets, man. I want to listen to New York sports talk, or I want to go back and listen to some New York sports talk radio after the way that traumatically came to an end for a lot of Mets fans, especially how things went down the stretch. Let's squeeze another one in here. Jeremy in Westmoreland is next.
Yes, sir. My win for the weekend, I'd have to say, goes to that guy, Will Brooks, for getting that kickoff fumble.
Oh.
I think that's what sparked everything for Tennessee, to kind of just give them that punch in the mouth to start it off. And I mean, another win is for the fans. I mean, I'm a Tennessee fan, born and raised here in the state, and it's just something amazing. I feel like it's a big thing for everyone that, that's their kind of go-away to. So my loser would be Texas A&M. I give them a win and a lose, because if they would have won against Alabama, I think that Alabama would have came in a little bit harder. But the losers is Texas A&M, because they was right there to win that game.
Did you see Johnny Manziel go after him? Thank you for the call, Jeremy. Johnny Manziel on Twitter thought he was disgusted with the final play call. I mean, Johnny has some skills, or had some skills in his college career that I don't think necessarily Haynes King does. But I mean, it's still right there for them to take it. I felt so bad for him, the way that he played through those injuries to this point. Where's the 104.5 The Zone High School Game of the Week?
We are headed to Portland High School as they take on Station Camp. So a lot of teams stepping out of region play this week. A lot of teams on a bye week this week. But we're looking forward to heading to Portland. We had Freddie Paxton in studio, the Portland wide receiver, a few weeks ago. They've been having a really nice year under Coach Wes Inman, and they are looking for a region crown. But like I said, this is not a region game for the 5A Portland Panthers. That's where we will be, a 6:45 pregame, 7 p.m. kick, and then with you until 11 p.m. for Friday night finals.
There it is, the 104.5 The Zone High School Game of the Week. So are you doing this solo now that Will has, morning radio and he's doing Titans postgame and all these other things?
No, last week was an anomaly. Will went down to Baton Rouge, so he had a flight on Friday, and Schaefer came and hung out with me, and it was really fun. We had a great game, and congrats to Nolensville for a heck of a win.
I saw you tweet it was one of the most fun games that you've done.
Oh, man, it was so enjoyable. Just a nip and tuck, really tight game between two 7-0 region rivals, and it was just a fantastic ball game, well coached across the board, an overtime win for Nolensville over Page, 27-21, and they are 8-0, a couple of 5A state championship contenders. We got to watch on Friday, and it delivered.
Have we ever had 3 guests on the radio show back to back to back?
I don't know.
That seems like uncommon occurrence. Anyway, Michael Felder of Stadium. Let's talk some college football. Big game for Tennessee, winning in the Bayou. Now they come home to host Alabama. Felder's going to break it down with some great details that you're going to want to hear about how Tennessee can give themselves a great chance against the Crimson Tide this weekend. More of your phone calls for the opportunity to win tickets to that game as well throughout the remainder of the final hour, which comes your way next.
It is 12:01. Good afternoon from the Superbook.com sports desk. I'm Lucas Panzica. Another controversial roughing the passer penalty thrown last night in the Monday Night Football matchup, a 30-29 win for the Kansas City Chiefs over the Las Vegas Raiders. The call came in the first half on Kansas City's Chris Jones during a sack fumble of Las Vegas's Derek Carr. ESPN reporting today that the NFL Competition Committee plans to discuss roughing the passer penalties after the conclusion of the 2022 season. The Braves' playoff run starts in a matter of minutes. A divisional series against the Phillies in Atlanta. First pitch coming up at 12:07. For all your foundation repair and waterproofing needs, visit USSTN.com. Breaking news at once on your home for the Titans and Vols. This is 104.5 The Zone.
Third hour is officially here. Show's moving fast. Don't worry, we got a little less than an hour left to go. Mike Felder Stadium going to be upon us momentarily. He's going to tell us how Tennessee can try and stick it to Alabama this weekend. We're also taking your phone calls throughout the course of the day. Try and sell us on your winner or loser of the sports weekend. We'll give you a pair of tickets to head to Rocky Top to take in this game for yourself. We've had a lot of good nominees. Lucas continues to be dismissive about them, so we'll see if you can impress him here in just a moment. So before we get to Felder, let's squeeze one more in. Josh in Nashville is up next.
Well, thanks for having me. Loser of the week for me is, I know y'all just touched on it, is the officiating with the roughing the passer call. I mean, there was another one last night that looked like the same as the Tom Brady call, and I can't remember which team that was on, where it was kind of a whipped around sack and no penalty there, which I don't think there should have been. And then how are you going to call a penalty when I'm in the process of stripping and creating a turnover, and if I happen to land on your damn quarterback in the process, I just don't get that. I think the optics are bad. Now, my winner for the week has to be y'all's one and only Ron Slay. I mean, this guy is living his absolute best ball for life. He goes down to the bayou, makes himself at home, walking through the crowd, smashing beers and doing shots. Then he bullies an entire LSU section into bringing him his 2 stilled beers back. And if that's not enough, he runs over to the Tiger cage and tries to antagonize that thing at the end of the game, and then brings all that energy back home for us to be able to enjoy on the radio. That guy might just be winning at life in general. And that's no knock on you, Buck. I listen to the show every day, but that guy just seems to bring joy wherever he goes. That's my best.
Listen, Josh, nobody would accuse me of bringing joy wherever I go the way that Ron Slay does. Mike Felder's a buddy of mine. I don't think he'd probably side with me on that either. Either way, at In the Bleachers is where you can follow him. Mike, how we living?
I'm doing all right, man. I'm making it work. I just picked up a new grill today, so we're good to go.
Uh-oh, that means, it's not like it was hindering your creativity before whatever your setup was previously, but I know that's got to be like Christmas Day for you.
Yeah, it's a big one. I got up in the morning with the Lowe's, picked up a bad boy, and I'm done with side burners.
Done with side burners.
I never use it. It adds an extra between $30 and $50 to the grill. I don't need it.
This is a very efficient approach. I will. Your motion has been heard and submitted. I'm sure many grill aficionados are nodding their heads in agreement, along with Mike Felder, who you can follow at In the Bleachers for all of your college football analysis and many delightful food pictures and cooking tailgating techniques. Mike, not the Titans, Tennessee rather. The Volunteers have been gnawing on some gator for a couple of weeks. They took it to LSU over the weekend. I think the thing about this offense that you and I have talked about many times over is that when it's operating at its best, it's not just hugely effective, but it also kind of serves to make the opponent look silly. And I don't know how you feel about Brian Kelly, but I think Vols fans took a particular kind of joy in making that LSU defense look, I mean, just incapable of running with that team.
Well, I think the interesting part with respect to Brian Kelly specifically is it's not just Vols fans. I think college football as a whole was like looking at him kind of floundering around, and they were like, yeah, man, you should have stayed where you were. And you shouldn't have tried to pretend that you're like some guy from the Bayou and this is all this family atmosphere when you're a headhunter looking for a bigger paycheck because you want to win a national championship. And there's nothing wrong with either of those things, wanting to win a title or wanting to get a bigger paycheck. But you don't have to lie to us. We already know the score. And so watching that happen was very, I think for a lot of fans, it was very sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Like it proved kind of that he doesn't belong there. So it's going to be really interesting to see how that shakes out. I am, to speak specifically to the Volunteers, the speed and space works. And for people that don't understand, so what we're seeing two things. These dichotomous philosophies operate simultaneously in college football. With one, you have in Alabama, you have Michigan, you have even USC, where we're seeing them operate out of tight formations, tight doubles, tight bunch, and then they spring out wide, and they're confusing people at the exchange level. So if you have 1, 2, 3 receivers in that tight bunch, any one of those 3 receivers could run any route across the field or to the sideline, and it confuses people. But it also confuses quarterbacks. So what we're seeing at Tennessee is the complete opposite, where instead of being tight, they're being wide. They're spread, speed and space. They've got guys lined up 1 yard off the sideline, a yard outside the numbers. And what that does, there's a reason Hendon Hooker hasn't thrown any interception. It's because it forces the defense to declare. And I was talking to Clint Turner about this, and he said, I love the idea of confusion, but if your quarterback can't pass through confusion, then he's going to be confused too. So what you have here with speed and space is declarative things. Like you have hard rules that you stick to, and I think it works really well. And obviously Hooker's exploiting it, and then you throw in Hyatt, throw in Tillman, you throw in these guys. You got an opportunity to go make plays, and that's what they do, especially when, realistically, a lot of these plays, when they run these, I mean, Buck, and you've seen it, when they run these 2-man screens, and it's a 2-man screen, and they're getting 2 for 1 sometimes, where the stacked wide receiver, the receiver in the front, is actually the guy who's going to go ahead and push, and he pushes both guys, his guy and the other guy's guy. He pushes both, pins them both inside, and now he's got a streak straight up the field. So the speed and space is working for them, and it's really fun to watch.
Mike Felder here with us on 104.5 The Zone, breaking down the University of Tennessee, the upcoming game against Alabama, a big one this Saturday. From the standpoint of that defense, though, against LSU, Mike, I think that's the thing that surprised me the most because we haven't seen that from them, winning one-on-one matchups that way, particularly up front in the trenches. And I thought on both sides of the ball, that offensive line, it's as good a game as I've seen them play. Was that... Did you notice anything in particular, anything different other than just flatly a dominant performance?
No, I think the big thing for them is I think it starts with them being able to frustrate Jaden Daniels, with being able to get pressure. They didn't always hit him, but they were in his face. And that was important. And then the second part was, and this is something we've talked about this before, and I honestly, if you're an LSU fan, you don't have to tweet me about it. You can feel however you want to feel, but I don't know if they like playing for this guy.
No.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Did you pick up that vibe?
Brian Kelly gives off that just generally because, Lucas calls him a politician. In college football, headhunter, I think, is more accurate, as you said. But there's an artificialness to him that I think bleeds through, and it has to be felt in that building.
Yeah, and it's just like, it's interesting to me because the thing that I always look at is who stands the game. And obviously Kelly stands the game if they were able to get into the playoff, which they're obviously not going to do. But who else stands the game? Kayshon Boutte stands the game, right? He's been mocked as a first-round pick, and he doesn't have any juice.
Yeah.
And Jaden Daniels stands the game as a guy who came in highly touted, had a really good freshman year at Arizona State, had an okay next year, and then this year is supposed to be the one that kind of pushes him to the next level. And he's getting the job done, but he's doing what he can to get the job done, but it's not the same. And I wonder how long this experiment lasts because it's going to be really interesting. And I'm not digging anybody's grave. I'm not burying Brian Kelly. What I am saying is that it seems like there's a disconnect between him and this team from an effort standpoint, from an execution standpoint, and how that all works. And listen, full disclosure, I play for Matt House, their defensive coordinator, and he was a GA when I was at UNC, and he's come a long way. But if these kids aren't going to listen to him when it comes to what he's telling them what to do, we saw the same problem with Bo Pelini, right? Where when Bo Pelini comes in, an accomplished defensive coordinator, they didn't want to listen to him. I think that's the part of this LSU program that's going to be interesting. And I think it's something that is uniquely LSU. And unless you have someone like a Meyer or a Saban, and those guys do things two completely different ways, I think they have a really rough time listening, understanding, respecting, or doing what they're told to do.
It's getting late early for Brian Kelly, as the cliche goes. Mike Felder here with us on 104.5 The Zone. So Nick Saban, obviously the Volunteers' next opponent. When we talked in prior to the college football season beginning, Mike, you said that Tennessee, you felt as good about Tennessee against Alabama as any other opponent this year, just because on occasion, corners get beat no matter how good you are. And what Tennessee does, as well as anybody in the country, is these explosive plays. And as you've just dissected for people, the way that they attack a defense and maximize the efficiency of the quarterback. What stands out to you about this matchup now that we have a larger sample size of both?
I feel the exact same way. What did I say? Preseason, I said Ole Miss and Tennessee, right?
Yep.
And I feel the same way still. I think Ole Miss and Tennessee are the teams that are going to tax this defense. Listen, we don't have to keep reiterating speed and space. It's one of these things where you're going to get Kool-Aid McKinstry. He's going to be out wide by himself. He's going to have to make a decision, and he's got to figure it out. He's a very good football player, and I think he's super good. And by the way, if you guys haven't checked out Kool-Aid's what he can do in the punt return game, you're missing out. And the coolest thing about him is he's not a guy that has 6 punt returns and has a touchdown. He's the guy that he's got like 18 actual punt returns and then like 10 fair catches in there as well. Like Alabama's forcing punts, and he's taking advantage of it. So it's really cool to watch him. But no, to the point, he's going to be on an island. Branch is going to be on an island. Battle is going to be out. Like these guys are going to be out there having to make plays, and that's the scary part is trying to make that play when Toto is 25 yards away from you because he's in the middle of the field. Having to make that play when Will Anderson is, 13 yards away because he's coming off the edge and he hasn't been able to redirect to get back outside. That's the difference that's the difference with spacing versus tight to expand. And I'm very curious to see how they handle it because for Alabama, and it could be that Saban obviously coming in is like, we know we can beat A&M. We're not that worried. We just have to get through this game because I've been working on a plan for this Tennessee team that does scare me. And I make no doubt about it. I think this Tennessee team is the type of football that does scare them because, oh, by the way, we talk speed and space, but can we add in Hendon Hooker? Can we add in Hooker in the run game? Because Hooker in the run game, doesn't he look a little bit like Johnny Manziel or a little bit like Deshaun Watson? Even if you want to give it to him, a little bit like Steven Garcia, who's beaten Alabama defense. Like, we're seeing his rushing numbers bubble up, 12 versus Ball State, then 27, 24, then 112 against Florida, and then 50-something against LSU. He's asserting that part of his game. So if you're Alabama and you're worried about the space, I'll take you through a defensive mind because that's what I have. You go through a defensive mind. You're worried about the spacing. Okay, we got to have spacing. How can we help our guys? We're gonna widen out our safety. Okay, we widen our safeties out a little bit. We have our money right here. We got a linebacker out here. We're going to protect ourselves. We're also going to work back. You saw the way Tennessee ran the football, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's scary. And then you throw in the fact that Hooker can also run on what should be a pass play. Now you got a problem. And that's those different elements make it a really, really difficult situation for Alabama. They're going to have to find a way. But you know what? There's no team more equipped to find a way because I'll tell you what, when Alabama decided to turn it on and they wanted to go get Haynes Cook, they got him. Anytime, anyone that wants it, you can get it. Dallas Turner's coming for you. Obviously, Will Anderson, the rest of that defense is coming for you. I think that for them, I will be surprised if on Saturday we don't see Alabama force the issue to the tune of dialing up 5- and 6-man pressures consistently to get the ball out, to force the ball to where they want the ball to go. so they can make the tackle or make that pass breakup.
It's going to be a fascinating game to watch. I know Vols fans are juiced for it. The entire college football world should be. You mentioned Ole Miss a little earlier, though, Mike, and they had a bit of a scare. They pulled away in the second half against Vanderbilt. But of the 15 undefeated college football teams, which is the most surprising to you that they're still out here doing it?
Ooh, the most surprising, man. That's a great question. I thought you were going to ask me what's going on with Ole Miss and how they're going to handle it, but I think Ole Miss is in 5-6. Honestly, the most surprising of the undefeated teams is Penn State.
Expand.
Are they good?
Ask Auburn.
I mean, that's the reality. I don't know if they're good or not. And
yeah, that win over Northwestern this weekend was ugly.
Yeah. Syracuse is another one that's going to be interesting. They're also undefeated, which I didn't even realize until I pulled up the rankings. But I'm excited about TCU. I'm excited about UCLA. UCLA, they're tough boys. They'll put the paws on you, which I find to be really interesting. But I like Ole Miss. I like Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State's coming into its own. What we've seen with Oklahoma State is we saw a Chuba Hubbard team, then we saw a defensive forward team, and now we're watching Spencer Sanders really start to take over and come into his own. So I like them. I believe in them. USC, I'm slowly coming around, although defensively I still don't love them. And I do think that, man, if they some interesting, some creative officiating in the football game, if you will.
Yeah.
But I love the Vols. Michigan, I think Michigan and Penn State, to me, they are in the camp of are they good? Nobody thinks Syracuse is good. But there are people that do think that Michigan or Penn State have an opportunity to get to the playoff, and I don't know that jives with what I've seen.
My mighty Indiana Hoosiers tried to stick it to Michigan on homecoming weekend this past weekend, but to no avail. Mike Felder, check out his work on Stadium at In the Bleachers for all of the food and college football opinions and analysis that you desperately need to have in your life this football season. Mike, always a great pleasure.
It's always good, Buck. You guys take it easy.
Mike Felder there with us on 104.5 The Zone. I don't know how much more gaslighting Lucas is going to be able to take when it comes to this Tennessee-Alabama game, because it is certainly continuing the hype that way. We're gonna continue to get you hyped. We have tickets to give away, 615-737-1045. We'll take some more phone calls for winners and losers of the sports weekend for the opportunity to do that and talk a little Titans too. That's next.
The Buck Rising Show is powered by Spring Hill Heating and Cooling. Visit springhillac.com.
Powered by Abbott today. The vibes are high, ladies and gentlemen. Not just because of that. Did you see Blink-182 is announcing a new world tour?
I did see that.
I was fired up for that. It's rare that you catch me with one of those, but that is something I'm absolutely going to get in on. I hope they're coming through Nashville. But we'll find that out later. I'm going to tell you why I don't think it's likely that the Titans trade for Carolina Panthers wide receiver DJ Moore in a second. But as you know, we've been taking phone calls throughout the course of the day on winners and losers of the sports weekend for the opportunity to go to Tennessee, Alabama this weekend, courtesy of Famous Dave's Barbecue. So before I give you this DJ Moore insight and information, let's go to Tyler in Smyrna next.
What's going on, Buck?
What's up, buddy?
Nothing much. My winner for the week is, although they didn't win on the scoreboard, is Brian Robinson for making his NFL debut after 6 weeks after getting shot. And then my loser of the week is Kyler Murray, not just for the Hillary Clinton suit that he was wearing, but for the ending to the Cardinals-Eagles game. They were down 20-17, and he runs and slides short of the first down and immediately hops up and spikes the ball before they can review the spotting, causing them to kick a field goal, missing it, and ultimately losing the game.
That's brutal. So Kyler's pregame or his outfit for game day was the subject of much conversation on the internet. You told me that the Eagles play. I obviously haven't had a chance to watch the Eagles-Cardinals game just yet. But you told me that they had that the Eagles had played a close game. Were you watching that closely when you were keeping tabs of things for your Titans radio updates?
Yeah, and that was one of the afternoon games, so I was really just keeping tabs on it early on. But it was 20-17, I believe, the final. The Eagles managed to stay undefeated.
The Kyler Murray pantsuit, or the Hillary Clinton style pantsuit that Kyler Murray had on, was laugh out loud funny. Like some of the commentary around it. I threatened to make that my next game day outfit when we were in the press box, and nobody thought that I would be able to pull off the lime green pantsuit either. Especially with those shoes. The shoes are the thing that set it over the top. Like the diamond studded shoes. Somebody said he'd look great for a girl's night out. It was certainly something. Now, Hollywood Brown also had a bit of a similar getup that nobody was talking about as much, I guess, because he was standing next to Kyler. Kind of got off the hook a little bit.
So is that why you do what you do for your game day outfits?
Why?
Because you desperately want it to float around on social media like Kyler Murray's did?
No. Are you kidding me? I mean, I had the cookie experience. The last thing I want to do. I'm not wearing anything crazy. Like the craziest thing I have is that purple, looks like the Joker suit.
Yeah, it's like you're dressing up for the Met Gala or something.
No, it's not. Have you seen what people wear to the Met Gala? That just speaks to your own clothing repressions. that a purple suit would be this, this unbelievable thing that somebody would wear to a football game. No, it was Halloween weekend. I had a purple suit made, and I really liked it. Is that what I do? Is that why I do what I do? Have you seen the way Teron dresses? Teron looks way better than me, and he ends up. I think his outfits are photographed at a far higher rate than mine are.
Yeah, Teron does it in a way that it doesn't look like he tries hard. He looks like he just rolls out of bed.
You're accusing me of trying hard?
I think you're trying too hard. Like Teron is just.
I think that's the story of my life.
It appears effortless with TD.
Well, yeah, because TD's got style and I don't. I have to work harder for it.
You're forcing it, which I get. Anytime I try to have style, I'm overly forcing it.
It doesn't feel forced to me. Get out of here, jerk. Teron's doing it though with Teron finds things that look good together, and meanwhile, I'm having to pay somebody to be like, "Hey, make me look good for these games."
I have no concept of what colors look good with other colors.
No, it's a nightmare. I get scared when I go shopping. Dara has to go with me and all but hold my hand because I panic when they ask me what pant size I am.
No, I'm right there with you. I need somebody to validate it.
615-737-1045. So let's talk about this DJ Moore situation. Well, it's not even a situation. Do you have the Dan Orlovsky clip handy? There's a clip going around on NFL Live of Dan Orlovsky talking about, now that Matt Rule has been fired for the Carolina Panthers, the panel on NFL Live, Mina Kimes, Marcus Spears, Dan, and Laura Rutledge, they do a great job. In fact, I think it's one of the smartest football shows on television. I think they've done really, really well with that show. And they're talking about, okay, now that teams are obviously calling the Panthers about their talented players just to see, they fired the head coach 5 weeks into the season. They're probably looking for some draft picks and trying to get right. So who are the players that should be on the table, or who are the teams that should be calling about specific players? And DJ Moore, the wide receiver, who just signed a very, very lucrative extension this offseason, was somebody that Dan brought up for the Tennessee Titans, among other teams that should consider trading for DJ Moore. And this obviously, sets the Titans internet aflame, and people start demanding of John Robinson trade for DJ Moore or else, and all these things start to spiral out of control. And so I'm gonna let me say this on the front end. If they made it work, I think it's a great idea. I really like DJ Moore as a player. Lucas brought up the idea that I don't know that we were on the air, but basically that he's not really their style of wide receiver, which, by the way, matters here. They all look very similar other than Kyle Phillips for a reason, because for the most part, those guys are expected to as much block as they are to catch the football. And that's just the nature of what they are. Trevor Sikkema broke it down as to, the lack of explosive options that the Titans have on their roster, and that they are built that way by design, in essence. So DJ Moore doesn't really fit that mold. But here's why I don't think it will happen, and it comes down to two very simple factors. One, that extension that he signed is substantial in the way that the money jumps up next season. His cap hit, now, his cap hit right now is $6.1 million. He's got a base salary of just over $1 million, $4.8 million signing bonus. Next year, it becomes, significant. The money goes up from a $6 million cap hit to a $25 million cap hit. His base salary goes from $1 million or just over to $19.96 million. You're basically, so it's the money of it, because you're not just trying to figure out how to make a contract like that work. You have to pay Jeff. Jeff has earned it. Jeff is the price. Yesterday's price is not today's price on Jeff Simmons, and it's going to continue to go up the more that he does things like, spend the entire game in Carson Wentz's lap while also running down Terry McLaurin after 4 other Titans miss a tackle. Like, that guy's getting the bag from here or anywhere else, because somebody's paying Jeff. Now, the money on it, I don't necessarily think it's the end of the world, because I think there's ways that you can find ways to make it work. The Rams are the constant example of it, but also the thing that I would ask you to keep in mind is that Amy Adams Strunk and the controlling ownership of the Tennessee Titans do not have Walmart money as far as cash on hand goes. Because if you're going to pay these guys, if you're going to overextend yourself and your salary cap, you have to have the money in escrow to pay them. I'm not saying that the Titans aren't like cash poor like Mark Davis and the Raiders are, but they're not an overwhelmingly lucrative franchise that way. So money is a part of it, even as it's not your money, it's not my money. What do you care how they spend the money? I'm just telling you the reasons why they might not be willing to. Now, the second reason I think is more important. The second reason is because if they were to trade for DJ Moore or another well-compensated wide receiver, what would that be an acknowledgement of? Can anybody tell me? Anybody? Anybody in the class? Don't raise your hand if you're driving. A visual bit on an audio medium. Thank you, Lucas.
I guess you could see it as an acknowledgement that the decision to let go of A.J. Brown for rookie Treylon Burks did not go the way they wanted it to go.
It would be an admission that they botched the A.J. trade, and they're settling for an option that's not A.J., but almost as well compensated.
That is how it would come off. Now, Treylon Burks is not available, and if Treylon Burks was 100% healthy right now, then you could definitely just scrap this conversation, right?
Yes. Although I still think a trio for the foreseeable future, not discounting Kyle Phillips, but not factoring in Kyle Phillips, of Treylon, Robert Woods, and DJ Moore would make you feel infinitely better about the Titans' ability to compete with an explosive offense that is not one that they currently have. So, for those two reasons, I don't think the DJ Moore thing is something that they would legitimately consider, much less get into a bidding war, because there are other teams who are going to want or be interested in DJ Moore. High cost, an admission of fault, and a potential bidding war that may take them out of their comfort zone. I think those are three reasons why I don't think the Titans would get involved in that situation, even as much as it bothers people to think that they wouldn't. And frankly, I think offensive line is a far more pressing issue than trying to acquire another wide receiver. 615-737-1045 is how you give us winners and losers for the sports weekend for the chance to go to Alabama, Tennessee this weekend. Tyler is in Hermitage. Tyler.
Hello.
Hi, bud.
Hey, how you doing, guys?
I'm good.
Good. So, obviously, everybody in the South already knows that Tennessee is the number one winner of the weekend, but we're not going to go there here. I'm going to send it out to the West. UCLA quarterback Dorian Thompson-Robinson, that team has been going off these past couple weeks. 2 top 15 wins. Got another opportunity this weekend with another top 15 matchup. 400 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, man. You can't really get better than that. Show some love out there. Fans
Absolutely.
Need it.
Oh,
this weekend, let's see, loser. We have to go to whole. I think that whoever runs the NFL, the concussion protocol, because these past 2 weeks, man, it has not looked good for the NFL and all these teams, especially on a Thursday night football game when you got everybody in the world watching. It's not like you got 15 games going on. You got everybody watching, and then he crinkles his fingers up like that, man. That's not good for these children and these parents. So I think that's the biggest loser. They need to get something going on with that, figure out something that they can.
No, I'm with that, Tyler. I appreciate the call. Have you felt, or is it just because we're all paying more attention that the NFL has clearly and obviously shifted into being overly cautious with players who even display the slightest wobble to them after an injury that could be considered concussion? Because Bridgewater, he was said to have cleared the concussion protocol, and they held him out anyway. Now, the Dolphins are a different situation because the Dolphins ought to be finding as many different ways to protect themselves as humanly possible, seeing as they are absolutely culpable in this situation that happened to Tua, and there should be significant repercussions for them, not just the doctor that was, and it sounds like erroneously fired. Did you see the Alan Sills, the head of the head NFL? Forgive me, I don't know his exact title, but he's basically the chief NFL doctor. And he was saying that he had hoped that the review would have been completed prior or before they ended up terminating the independent doctor who made the determination on Tua.
So Tom Pelissero said NFL Chief Medical Officer Dr. Alan Sill speaking passionately on a Zoom, saying all the doctors involved with Tua operated with, quote, absolute integrity, and the video alone does not provide the best diagnosis. So he said that the medical staff concluded, Sill said, the medical staff concluded the gross motor instability was most likely not due to a concussion, but as a result of a back injury. And he went on to say everybody followed the protocol in treatment of Tua Tagovailoa.
And so they needed a fall guy. And for the sake, this is why I like Tyler's submission. And I think he ought to be very much in the running, because I think it's completely, they've skewed everything again for the optics. They've changed the rules because of Tua, because they were being shamed everywhere that the NFL would allow a situation like this to continue. Quarterbacks are now going to be officiated even more significantly than they previously were. Tom Brady and the roughing the passer stuff, independent of one another, like the concussion stuff, is going to loom over everything that these guys do in ways that I don't know what the solution is. It's tough because you want to protect these guys, but it's significantly altering these games. Let's go to KJ in Nashville next.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning to you.
Winners and losers, I'll go with the winners first. I'll go with Jerry Stackhouse on his tailgate to try and gravitate the fans back in the stands. I thought that was nice. And my losers,
was he on the grill, KJ? I saw a couple pictures of somebody.
He was on the grill. He was definitely on his grill.
Look at Coach Stack.
He was on the grill, so that's definitely my winner. And my loser is Arthur Smith. His expression of being someone that's not outspoken, the expression he showed on the sideline on that call, I just fell for him. So he represented all the losers around from his expression from that call on Tom Brady.
It's a really those are two really strong ones, KJ. Thank you very much for the call. 615-737-1045. Last call for phone calls. We're going to figure out who's going to Tennessee, Alabama this weekend. We'll do some polls. We'll get you out of here on a Tuesday. I'm Buck Rising. It's 1045 The Zone. What a day it's been. Nothing makes you feel more like a Tuesday is a Friday. Well, than, the fact that I have 3 days off after this, which I'm very excited about. Shout out the bye week. But also ABBA all day long. Well done, Lucas. Bravo to you. I don't know if we can do it every week and it'll feel the same, but every
ABBA
once
Tuesdays.
in a while, maybe ABBA on Mondays, because it feels like I do come in here in the worst mood on Mondays, and you have to talk me off the ledge about a 30th ranked offense and the fact that I'm screaming at them for being 3-2 and those 3 wins coming consecutively.
How about ABBA Travel Mondays? So only when we travel.
ABBA Travel Mondays. Yeah. All right, it's a little clunky. We can workshop that later. 615-737-1045. Chris in Nashville is next.
Hey, guys.
What's
up?
up?
Y'all put me in a tough spot. I'm the last one on the radio for this winner and losers. And, of course, everybody's went through here, and they have picked everything I was going to say. But you know what? I'm going to go with it. Let's roll. Let's talk about it. The NFL, that is the worst calling I've ever seen in my life on these roughing the passers. Hey, NFL, I can solve your problem right now. Why don't we just put some flags on these quarterbacks, and let's just pull the flags off of them? Yeah, flag football on the quarterback. Problem solved, right? Huh? Or that, or put them in a bubble suit. So that's number 1. 2, the winner. Everybody done took my winner. So I'm going to say CBS Sports because, 1, CBS Sports, you got 2 undefeated teams coming up that made it through the weekend. You got Alabama, who barely squeaked by, and you got Tennessee, who put that butt whooping on those Tigers down there in LSU. So, hey, I'm fired up about it. CBS Sports, you're the biggest winner for this past weekend because guess what? You got 2 undefeated. Your rating's going to be off the roof, and so is Neyland Stadium. There ain't going to be no roof left on it. I'm out. Let's go.
He got it. Well done, Chris. Bravo. 60 seconds on the clock. You know what? That's good.
That's
creativity.
Good. Before we wrap this up, Rick from Charlotte has promised me he's our contest winner.
Oh.
I think he should be our last submission.
Now that's well, one, you're alleging that Rick should jump people because he believes that he is the contest winner.
We have time for one more.
Rick in Charlotte is next.
That's right, Buck. You're talking to your contest winner right here.
Sell me on it, Rick.
Because I was in D.C. this weekend, and I spotted you up there, Buck, and the winner of the week is actually me, and the loser is you.
Okay. Why?
So I'm on the road with Arn, and we saw a good-looking blonde walking into your hotel room. Not even 10 minutes later, she walked back out, not a hair out of place. Now, wait, when a blonde walks out of my hotel room, the hair's a mess. And she says, Ric Flair, whoa, you're a 60-minute man.
Oh, he strikes again.
He strikes again. Damn. I can't. You know what? That's the hardest I've laughed on one. But that's a difficult decision. Lucas, make the determination and then give us the polls.
Voluntary is going to get both tickets. His loser of the weekend, the Jacksonville Jaguars, for handing the Texans their first win in a dreadful football game.
Did you see that there was a Jags player quoted as saying we may have overlooked the Texans?
Ooh,
like the Jags overlooking. That's damning.
And his winner being his son Kyle, who is going to Knoxville, who does not have a ticket and has suffered from cancer for years now. So if Voluntary is able to go to Knoxville, meet his son Kyle there, and go to the game with him, then it will be very worth giving him these 2 tickets.
There it is. Congratulations, and thank you guys for bearing with us all day long. Blaine and Mickey have tickets. And 3HL has tickets.
Blaine and Mickey have Preds tickets at $220. 3HL has Vols tickets at $540.
There it is. An important distinction. Bravo, Lucas. Polls.
Stop the count. Stop the count. The polls have closed and the votes have been tallied. Now, here's your favorite Buck Rising Show correspondent, Lucas Polzika.
Presented by Two Rivers Ford. You can custom order any new Ford from Two Rivers. They deliver it to you when it's manufactured. Who are the winners of the weekend? Mr. Two-Tone says, Matt, pay me to leave rule. $40 million because I suck at my job? I want to sit on my fat butt and get $800,000 fat doll hairs a month for sucking at my job.
Hey, do you know what Matt Rule figured out? What he brought from college to the pros? Not an innovative offensive style, but the style of that of fired college football coach who gets the bag at the end. Bravo, Matt Rule.
Who are the losers of the weekend? Jordan submits the video of the Giants trainer doing what he was doing to the Giants player.
Oh, we're not doing what he was doing. He's trying to work on his hip. Don't make it something more than it was.
Darren says the Packers. Chris says the Mets.
Yeah, the Mets. The Mets are continual losers. And even though they cannot lose any more baseball games because they already got bounced in the wild card, feels like there's a lot of Braves fans that want to continue to remind the Mets fans that you just have to eat it.
Braves playing the Phillies right now. I cannot give you a score because it's in a commercial break.
Okay.
State your case for or against the Titans trading for DJ Moore. V-Love says better off blowing high draft picks via trade than on actual high draft picks at this point.
Well, I don't disagree with that logic. But again, the thing that it comes down to for me is money when that cap hit goes up substantially, and the idea that he's not really a stylistic fit here, and they do care about that enough to not make a trade like that.
You asked Michael Felder, what was the question about your favorite?
Who's the most surprising undefeated team? There's 15 left.
And a couple of those are in the Big 12. So we asked, who is the best team in the Big 12? 43% say it's Texas. 30% say it's unbeaten TCU. 23% Oklahoma State. 4% say Baylor.
Ooh, that's a fascinating question.
Yeah, Texas has just, they have jumped right back into that conversation with Quinn Ewers back, healthy, was excellent against Oklahoma.
That mullet, the mullet, he looks even more disheveled after a couple of games off, coming back into the mix with that golden cowboy hat on his head. That was a pretty funny look.
Who's been the better team through 6 weeks? 72% say Tennessee over Alabama.
Oh, there's no bias in there whatsoever. Shame on you all.
Those are the polls.
Although, Tennessee hasn't had a turnover game like that, like the one Alabama just played. We'll see who ends up starting at quarterback. I'm done for the week. It's the Lucas Panzica Show the rest of the week. What do you got coming up tomorrow that people need to know about?
Hanging out with Rhett Bryan tomorrow. Keith Bullock is going to join us.
Lovely.
And we will, of course, officially start to pivot to the third Saturday in October.
By God. Well, have a great rest of your week. From me, I'm going to enjoy the bye week. I need to take as much rest as apparently half your defense. But we'll talk to you. I'll do primetime tonight, and I'll be back next week. Lucas got you the rest of the way. See y'all.